Hey, everybody, and welcome to another installment, another edition of Work Your Career Wednesday. I'm Bradley Clark, and I'm so happy that you decided to tune in and join us today. I tell you what, we got a great show today. Kind of a double whammy. We are featuring a great guest, but with me this week is Karla. You remember her? She's the former VP of HR and Operations for the Oakland Raiders. And she called me up one day and she said, "You got to bring Nicole Adams." We have Nicole Adams today. She worked for Karla over at the Raiders. She was an HR coordinator, and she goes into all sorts of things. We talk about her life, we talk about her history, we talk about what brought her to the Raiders, some of her experience with the Raiders, and we go into some things that sometimes aren't talked about in polite circles. We talk about the conceptions and what sounds to me like misconceptions of millennials in the workforce. And I tell you what, she gives just, you're going to love this installment. Now, this is part one. We're going to have part two next week, but I hope you enjoy it today. And now we got to talk about White Husky Films. If you need anything documented, anything pertaining to video, get in touch with Steven Saldana. Go to www.whitehuskyfilms.com, or the number is on the screen as well. Get in touch with them. I tell you what, anything, podcasts, conferences, music videos, commercials, anything you could possibly think of, call Steven. I know he'll be glad to hear from you. And when you pick White Husky Films, you'll be so glad you did. All right, now without further ado, please welcome former HR coordinator for the Oakland Raiders, Miss Nicole Adams. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another installment, another edition of Work Your Career Wednesday. So glad you decided to tune in today, and boy, do we have an amazing show today. Let me tell you, we have a double whammy for you today. I don't know if you can see it, but we have Karla. She's a former VP of Operations and HR for the Oakland and Las Vegas Raiders, and guess what? We have an incredible treat. HR manager for the Oakland Las Vegas Raiders. Also, I got to tell you, another first for the show. Nicole, you are the first millennial we have on the show. Can you believe it?
I'm excited. I'm excited to be the first.
I'm excited too. I just want to make sure everybody knows that, because that's just an incredible, I don't know, I think that's an incredible distinction. But everybody, please make welcome the one, the only Nicole Adams. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course. And I'm the first millennial, hopefully not the last. We got to get some more.
Hey, I agree. Well, Karla called me up and she's like, "Listen, you have got to interview Nicole. It is amazing." And then we decided, you know what? Let's all get together and just have a discussion, And we talked the other day, and I just thought your story was incredible, and I know our audience is going to love it. So, please, can you give us a little bit of backstory about you, Nicole?
So I started with, I have two lovely dogs who like to be on camera when I'm on camera. So
No, hey,
I
we are dog friendly here. Absolutely. I have one that wants to make her presence known, like almost like all the time. So
yeah, when I'm on camera, I can't give her. Usually, I give her the black mom look, like in the voice, like, or just cut it out. I can't do that when I'm on camera. So she's over there acting like she's lost her mind. Anyway, so for me, I started my career in HR in 2014, 2015. And I started off as a recruiter. Whenever I started my career, I planned to go in HR. And after college, I was like rolling in my sleeves, like, I'm ready to go. Hire me. I have my degree and I'm going to get hired anywhere. get hired even to be an assistant. I was so upset. I had to move back to my parents' place. And this is after like leaving home at the age of 17 after I graduated, living on my own in college, doing my own thing, not having to tell people where I'm going and answering to anyone. And then at 20, I believe it was like 24, I'm back on my parents' couch, like crying to my dad, like, this isn't what I expected. Like, this isn't how this goes. I'm supposed to be young and free and see my friends and do what I want. And so I started
best laid plans, best laid plans is that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Absolutely horrific. So
Right.
I felt like I was sold a dream, and then I graduated and couldn't find a job in the field of interest for me, which was HR. And so I have kind of like start from scratch and start figuring out what sort of soft skills I needed to have. All the skills that you already have, but they say that you need to have those since you're 10 years old in a working capacity, like making copies and answering phones. I've been answering phones my whole life. So I
Very
really,
important.
yeah, like you should have been answering phones, but like, no, not regular phones at a job since you were 10. So I started to get my resume together so that I could be a good selling point for all of these soft skills that I didn't have from working. And after that, I was able to find a career in HR. Looking for a job is a job in itself, so I never had any downtime. At some point, as a recruiter, I knew that I wanted to move to the Bay. And so I was trying to do whatever I could to get out there. I came across a company called Robert Half that was a placement firm, and they placed
Amazing.
people with different companies. And
Do
so
they?
they do. It was amazing. I was
Hmm.
I've been looking for work the hard way. I've been looking at ads on Craigslist. Are you kidding me? On Indeed, on like ZipRecruiter, and then you have these people here that are going to do it for me for free. So once I started working with Robert Half, the person that I was working with, her name was Lindsay. She came to me and she's like, "Hey, I have this job in HR and you're going to be doing this, that, and the third." And I was like, "Nope, not doing it. Not going to work." I think it's like $15 an hour or something. And I had made the decision early on that if they didn't have the role specifically that I wanted to develop in, and it was going to set me back because I had been fighting for so long to get off my parents' couch, I was not going to take it, no matter how glamorous it was. And so I told her, basically, try again, Lindsay. That was great. Let's do better. So um, she went back and found a different role. And when she came to me this time, she handed me off to a different recruiter named Tra, and loved Tra. Tra said, "Hey, I have an opportunity. There's an HR assistant role, and it's with a great company, and I'm going to interview you right now." So, okay, perfect. Let's get it. I'm outside of my other job, by the way, and I'm like taking this call and I'm interviewing with Tra. And she's like, "Perfect. So I'm going to pass you on to the VP at this company. She's basically spicy," is what she told me in so many words.
And you still don't know who the client is at this point.
No idea. No idea.
Wow.
So she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna talk to you about I'm gonna talk to her about you." So what they do at Rubber Half, like the person who recruits you, they're like your agent. So they talk to the VP, they sell me, and then she calls me back and she's like, "Hey, you have the job. The only thing is you start tomorrow." And at this point, I'm in Monterey. Monterey is that 2-hour drive from the Bay Area. In the morning, it's like 4, 5. And so I'm like, "Okay, I'll start tomorrow." Don't even have like a reliable source of transportation to get to the Bay Area. And I was like, "It's okay, I'm gonna make it work. I'll start tomorrow. No problem, Char. Where I need to go." And she's like, "Okay, so the organization is the Oakland Raiders." And I I almost dropped my phone. Like, are you kidding me? You're making me go through all of this, and you should have led with that. Like, why?
Like you really, you buried the lead, you know.
What? So I run home like, I this job with the Raiders, I have to start tomorrow. My mom and I are sitting on the couch, like, okay, Nikki, how are we gonna get this ready? My mom comes to me, Nikki. She's like, we got to get your car. We got to get your car. So I rented a car. Well, my mom rented the car because I was broke. So my mom rented me a car. The next morning, I get up at like 4 a.m. and I trot myself to Alameda, California. It was about a 4.5-hour trip to get to the Bay. And
Easy.
I get there. I did not meet this spicy VP. Matter of fact, it took me a long time to meet her. So I get there and I'm like, I'm ready to go. I get walked around by this guy named Martin, who's a wonderful HR person who worked there, who I was helping to come in and take over some of his responsibilities because he was leaving. So I get walked around. First day done, go home, about another like 3.5, 4-hour drive back home in traffic. And I was exhausted. My family's like, how did it go? Did you see players? Like, how was it? And I was like, I'm tired. I'm going to bed at 7 p.m., but I'm doing that again. I'm getting up tomorrow. I'm going and I'm going to kill it. So that is a little bit about like my backstory in a nutshell, minus all of the crying that I did to my parents.
Oh my goodness. What? That's an amazing odyssey. I mean, you know what? Not too many people can say they had a first day like that, where they got, you know, they get the job the day before and then they've rented a car. Well, you know, and just making the 4-hour trip, 4-hour commute to the Bay Area. So, I mean, that is so awesome. Now, your story, you know, before that is pretty amazing too. We were talking the other day about you know, how you went to school, you know, like you were just instilled with this incredible work ethic. Tell us about that. Now, am I remembering this right? You had 11 scholarships.
Yes, I did. I had 11 scholarships that were not like they weren't given to me for academic reasons or I was this great athlete or what have you, why people would usually hear of someone getting a scholarship. I had to apply for all of these. They were scholarships that the community, like they're around the community. There are scholarships that are around like nationwide, like Walmart might give a scholarship. You have to go and you have to search for them. And so whenever I went and I searched for these scholarships, they were all in my community. And I did end up applying for all that I could apply for. They all have different criteria, and whatever I fit the bill for, I applied because my parents were like, "Yeah, you need some money.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah." And so, and on one, you were telling me that, you know, you had to go up in front of a committee and give your reasons why they should give you a scholarship. So, I mean, I guess where I'm going with this is nothing's come easy.
No, not at all.
You know, nothing has come easy. And so when you went to school, you know, it's not like you were telling me the other day you wouldn't classify yourself as like a public speaker.
Yes.
Right. So yes. Even this, you know, doing this show is a bit out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
And so it's pretty incredible. So 11 scholarships, you go to school, you know, you decide that you want to be in HR. Tell me why, because I love your reasons why.
So growing up, you mentioned, you know, like it wasn't easy. I don't think anyone's life growing up is easy. You're young and you're dumb. You think you know everything. And then you find out that you don't in some very difficult ways. But I was fortunate enough. A lot of people don't have support systems. I was fortunate enough. I had so many people to support me and help grow me that I was like, whether or not I landed on my head or on my butt, I was going to be okay because I had so many people around me who were going to ensure that. They were going to let me run into some walls, but they were always going to be there to hold a cold cloth on my head after I came back and realized like the world wasn't what I thought it was going to be. So growing up, I just had some very influential people from my parents to I was very involved in church. So my church community and my teachers, even there was like a little teacher's pet. And these people, although they were very tough on me, they were like, Nicole, you're not going to fail. You're going to go and do what you're supposed to do, or you're going to come back and you're going to have to deal with us. So I didn't want to deal with them. I decided right away. I'm not someone who likes to get in trouble. I'm like, I don't want to smoke from you. I'm going to go. I'm going to do whatever you need me to do. I decided that because my path was made a lot easier from all of these individuals who were very tough on me, who challenged me, but who also encouraged me and never gave up on me, no matter if I did something really stupid or I was someone who didn't listen, or no matter what my challenges were growing up, these people never gave up on me. And even the people who didn't have to love me, they did, and they helped me through. And so I thought, like, what privilege do I have having that community around me, that village that it took to raise a child that raised me up, even though they didn't have to. And how amazing would that be to share that privilege with others who don't have that? So when I decided to do a career, I wanted my career to involve my passions, which were giving back to other people who did not have the same privilege that I had.
That's amazing. Doing this show, I've gotten a chance to really interview some great people, really influential people. And it's amazing how important a strong spiritual foundation is. Now, that's number one. That's going to sustain you when times get tough, but also having the support system, is really important. So really, that is awesome. And kudos to your parents and everybody that had your back in those times.
Yeah, they had my back. They have my front. They had everything. They were willing to let me go out there and fail, but they were always like ready for me to come home. Like, come on, baby. We told you this was going to be like that, but you didn't want to listen. Come on. And they were there to help me like lick my wounds and then like, okay, you're ready. No more babying. You're good. Roll up your sleeves and get back out there. So I was just so fortunate to have that.
That's awesome. Now, Carla, you hired her, right? Yeah. So what was it about Nicole that made you say yes?
She didn't give me a choice. Literally, she didn't give me a choice. She was, even if I said you weren't going to have the job, she was coming back the next day. That was going to happen. She didn't give me a choice.
Well, it doesn't sound like she had one. You're right. I mean, what's funny about this? Really amazing, actually. Now that I think about it, remember in our last conversation we were talking about being starving or hungry. And this kind of reminds me of that. That starving or hungry kind of mentality.
Nicole was starving. Nicole was going to do anything to get hired.
She was going to succeed.
She was going to succeed. Nicole came in I did not make it easy on her. And she will tell you that. I did not make it easy on her. I didn't. And when she said that she didn't talk to the spicy VP for the first day, she didn't talk to the spicy VP until maybe a week, 2 weeks in, Nicole?
Let's be generous and say 2 weeks.
That sounds about right.
Let's be generous.
Okay. Maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3. It took a while. Not only me, but also, any kind of leadership. She spoke to, her direct communication was with Martin and with the then HR manager, which was Haja Suleiman. So those were the two people she spoke to, because I did not make this easy for her. She had to really want it. And when I actually sat down and interviewed Nicole, I even said to her, why do you want to work here? Why do you want to do HR? And she explained it. I said, yeah, you don't want to work here. I literally told her to go and find another job.
That
I
sounds
told her
about
to
right.
find another job, find another profession, because this was not it.
Wow.
And she's like, but I want to work here. And I'm like, yeah, no, you don't. I tried to convince her of everything possible not to take this job. So, and Nicole's like, well, I'm showing up tomorrow. So whatever. This is
really?
Mhm.
Nicole, you said that? You said I'm showing up tomorrow? Like that's happening.
That's happening. She tried to scare the Jesus out of me, and she did. Actually, she sat me down like, why do you want to work? Not only like, why do you want to work here? Why do you even want to work in HR? Nobody wants to work in HR. This coming from the VP of this prestigious company that I am in awe of. She's like, you don't want to work in HR. What's wrong with you? Are you crazy? And I feel like she was gaslighting me, like something terrible. And I'm like, is there like, am I being punked right now? I go home to my dad and I'm like, I don't think she learns me. I don't know what to do. Like, I'm trying. I'm going to work every day on time, these 4-hour trips. I'm over here breaking my back and I am exhausted, going to sleep at 7 p.m. just to wake up at 3 a.m. the next day. And this lady is just, she doesn't talk to me. I just sit in the back by myself in the corner. And my dad's like, you don't worry about whether or not she likes you. You get your job done. Yeah, you do your work.
Right.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, she'll realize it.
Nicole made it impossible not to notice her. She did everything asked of her and more. And it was like, when I tell you she earned her job, she earned her job. She was like, I did not make it easy on her. Because especially when you're hiring for the Raiders, the first thing is you're a Raider fan. Everybody wants to work there because they're a fan. Right. And the HR team, as Nicole had learned, wasn't easy. We were pushing a boulder uphill, and I needed to make sure that she was going to be able to, it wasn't going to scare her. She wasn't going to run from it, and she was going to succeed. And I did not make this easy on her. And it was not a test. It was just like, these are things that she would have to encounter when she got there, because we are thrown to the wolves. And it's like, there you go. We are HR, and we just have to, we are everybody's therapist. We are set procedures. We are making sure compliance is done with our family atmosphere. It was just a lot. So,
well, and how would you describe maybe the way, your upbringing and the fact that you had to fight for everything, growing up, academically and then professionally, and how do you think that prepared you for the Raiders?
It prepared me because I knew coming in, although I didn't have as much experience until I came to the Raiders, about what the working world was going to be like and how difficult it was going to be and how many no's you were going to get instead of yeses. I knew that it wasn't going to be a cakewalk, and I knew that I couldn't have rose-colored glasses going into this role, because from growing up, especially like from going to college, graduating and not being able to get a job in my field, that I feel like was the biggest realization, where it's like, you maybe sold a dream, or things may glitter and shimmer, but it's not always going to be this great, perfect facade. Like, you're going to work hard and everything's going to work out for you. It takes dedication, it takes patience, it takes perseverance. It's not just the hard work. Sometimes you have to like go home and lick your wounds and be ready to go and take that beast again, not knowing when it's going to pay off, but that perseverance is going to get you through. It's going to pay off. So I think having all of those struggles, realizing that it didn't just take me to be a nice person or a good person or a hard worker. Like it took, or for me to follow all of the rules, because that's what I've been doing. It takes so much more than that. And that's what prepared me for my role at the Raiders and to survive my spicy VP.
And
Well, so
and Nicole also, I mean, she interviewed with our associate counsel. She interviewed, I don't know if did you interview with the general counsel too, Nicole? No, right?
I did. I came in all dressed up with my resume. He laughed at me like, "What are you doing?" At that point, I had been there for a year.
Yeah.
But I did. I interviewed with everyone.
Uh-huh. We had her go through the interview process. Even though she was there, we had her go through all of the interview process.
Well, she was a contractor first. She was a contractor first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So to come on permanently, you guys had her go through a little bit more of an in-depth interview process.
Even though we knew what Nicole could do, we
just wanted to do it anyway.
Made her go through the process. And listen, at the end of the day, it was always going to be Nicole's job. She just didn't know it.
Well, and that's the thing, the Raiders, for better or for worse, are notorious for, not being the easiest place, to work. And I think, but at the same time, I'm a Robert Halfer, and Robert Half isn't either. But I will tell you that the things that I learned at Robert Half, I still use to this day. The things that, so sometimes, particularly when, it's a tough environment, and you have to, if you go in with a thick skin, you find out how thin it is by the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Right. So how has it been since the Raiders? And we're going to go back, because I want to get your opinions and your viewpoints on a few things. We're really going to pick your brain today, because I think it's really, really valuable to find out your experience, particularly being a millennial in the working world. But since then, let me put it this way. I'm operatically trained as a singer. And they say that once you learn opera, you can sing anything. You sing opera, you can sing anything. Is it that kind of the same way with the Raiders, where once there's a saying, and there's a reason, once a Raider, always a Raider. So how has it been since working at the Raiders and going to another company in this working world environment?
I will say, if nothing else, the Raiders prepared me for any situation. They prepared me to navigate any obstacles and be able to come out from that and say, that's fine, I've been through worse, bring it on. And I think the company, it takes you through hell and back, because you have to be scrappy. You have to be willing to take your lashes and say, that was fine. Like, what else you got? And I think that, especially with the team, going and you say, when people ask you what your profession is, and you're like, I work for the Raiders. I've had people heckle me. I'm like, I'm just over here doing HR work and paperwork, and you're over here heckling me. So
what is like Robert Half?
Yeah, so a lot of
fun though. It was a lot of fun.
A lot of fun, but you go through so many situations that you weren't prepared for. You didn't even know really, is this real life? Like, I'm in the grocery store line just getting my groceries, and I'm happening to wear my Raiders jacket that I got from work, and someone's like laughing at me like, your team sucks. And I'm just like, dude, I'm just trying to buy some milk. So situations like that.
Oh, there's so much I want to say on that one. Oh man. I feel like I am like an honorary Raider, because you guys were my client, and I went through the ups and the downs with you. But I tell you, don't be saying that. Be saying, look.
Ready to fight. I'm just saying.
Go ahead. I'll take paper and plastic, please. That's awful to say. I didn't mean it that way, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, it's really something to be proud of. You guys really worked on the world's biggest stage, And the one thing that the Raiders have to contend with is 49er fans. I'm sorry. Because I'm probably going to get some Niners on here at some point, and we love you too.
Yeah.
But you have to deal with all sorts of things. So it wasn't just, internally, it was externally. So you had to, to deal with a lot. But that goes to my next sort of question. Okay. And I told you we were going to cover this a couple days ago, but I'll be the first to say it. Your generation is not known for being the most thick-skinned, the most, I would say a misconception is hardworking. Do you find that your experience growing up is an exception or to this rule, or is it really the rest of the world has a misconception? So is it a misconception, all of that, or are you an exception?
Now, you know what I'm going to say here. You know what I'm going to say. When it comes to what people say about you, there's a saying, and that is that if you'll meet someone who's going to say wonderful things about me, you're going to meet someone who's going to say terrible things about me. You should believe them both. Given the situation, that's who you're getting. And I think that this generation of millennials, there may be some people who are on the extreme end of the curve, and there are some people who are on the other side of the curve, maybe the boomers who don't think that we work so hard, who think that we are thin-skinned crybabies, whine about everything. And I don't think any extreme is good. No matter if you're just eating, you can go and just eat vegetables and greens all day. Your body is still going to want something else. You still need fats. So I say that to say, like, no extreme is good at all, no matter what it is. And you have to be somewhere in the middle. And I think that with millennials, you get a bad rap for wanting to be a pioneer. With this generation, you've noticed the things that your parents did, that your grandparents did. You take those things and you innovate them, because not some things that they did, fabulous. Some things, not so much. And they say that if you don't learn from your history, you're destined to repeat it. And so, like, I've watched my father work hard, one of the hardest working men I know. And my father had a heart attack at work. And not only did he have a heart attack at work and almost died, he had to get a lawyer to prove that he needed his Social Security disability benefits, and had to fight for months to get Social Security disability after this hardworking man had been working since a teenager and had a heart attack at work. And so I would want people to think about, whenever they think millennials are not hardworking or we're thin-skinned, I would want you to question, what is it about the generation that you find makes us not hardworking? Is it because we want to find something and make it easier for us? Take something that may be difficult and refine it and make it easier because I want to work smarter, not harder? Or is it because I am factoring in my mental health, because I know that I am not put on this earth to work every single day of my life and to have nothing to show for it at the end of the day? I didn't experience life. I didn't go on trips. My father took care of 5 kids, barely traveled, barely saw his family who lived on the East Coast, he's in California, and had a heart attack at work. So when you think about someone who's over here thin-skinned, whining about their mental health days and things like that, there are some things that we've learned from our past that do not work. And for me to want to continue down that path, that's the definition of insanity, right? Like seeing something that is not working, continuously doing that. So we have to find different ways to do it. Am I saying like everyone who's a millennial is doing things the right way? No, some of us may be more whiny. Some of us may be a little soft and don't want to work as hard. And we don't have to. I think as long as you are going about your workload in the same manner as someone who's maybe a boomer or Gen X, like we have the same mindset, we have the same goal, it's survival, and how we do it is a little different. And so
what would you say? Okay, so what would you say to, let's say, sort of the person that, especially as an HR person and hiring, and as a recruiter, really, and they kind of come in, they have maybe a year and a half of experience and want a certain amount of money. You know, how would you counsel them to say, you haven't earned that yet?
I've had so many situations like this, especially like going to college campuses, trying to mentor people, and they come up to me and they're like, do you have any manager roles? I'm like, manager? You don't have a degree. Manager?
Right.
Manager.
Yeah.
So I try to tell people the realization of like, yeah, you probably can do this in your sleep. I could probably train a monkey to do this. However, the reality is that you have to stand the test of time. You have to go through, you have to do some things that you know that you can do, but you have to prove yourself, and you have to, because nothing's going to come easy. And so an employer wants to make sure that like they're going to put their money where their mouth is. They're going to make sure that you can stand the test of time, that you're worth the investment that they're going to put into you. Hiring an employee is very, very expensive, from your salary to your benefits to your perks. And so they want to make sure that you're worth that, and you don't just get it by having this glossy resume. You have to,
or reading a meme that says know your worth, and then really believing that. Well,
yeah,
but here's the thing though. So here's the thing is that at the risk of defending a generation or pointing out the critiques on it, I think that's where a lot of the criticism comes from, is that there's folks that have come in that have not had to fight for what they have. You know what I'm saying? And so they come in, and like you said, you're at college campuses, and do you have any manager roles? No. You can manage the task that you were given and then prove it, and the fact of the matter is not everybody has the Karla Ties of the world either. They don't have that, where they're making sure that you're gonna stand the test of time. So with that, I mean, and even my if you guys can hear my dog, sorry about that. I mean, she's very vocal. She's very vocal. She's young. She's a Gen Z, but
we don't want to get into Gen Z.
right. Well, but I think that's part of it, and I think you having the opportunities that you've had, and the opportunities to fight, and having the support system you have, I think is very important, obviously, to be able to mentor these folks that do not have the experience that you do. So that's awesome, and I commend you for that.
And one thing I have to say though, Brad, is that when we worked for the Raiders, our job wasn't just HR. I mean, that was, yes, our main job, but Nicole, and she hasn't said it, but I will tell you, is that we worked 7 days a week during season. We were there every day. So just like football players, we were there, and we worked on game day. We weren't on the field. Well, I used to be, and so was Nicole. Our second job was not just being there on game day as HR, but we had other assignments. I mean, at one point I was on game day entertainment, but so was Nicole. Nicole did a separate job on Sunday, and she did dual. She did HR and worked with the entertainment team with the Raiderettes. So, I mean,
that would be a job in and of itself, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's just a job within itself. So, I mean, when I say that Nicole is a hard worker and persevered, I mean, she proved herself every day she was there. And not only was it, that was afforded to her of doing not just HR, it's like she has gone to Europe as entertainment, because it's like, Nicole, they need you, go. But, I also need an HR person there. So here you go, HR, and do both. Yeah. And she accepted it with open arms. She's like, okay, got it. I'm here. So I mean, when I tell you hard worker.
So, and I love this, it goes to my very next question. So, you were saying that finding a job is a full-time job, and it really is. It really is. Talk about, mental health and the whole thing, and it doesn't get easier the older you get. It just doesn't. So when you were interviewing for places to go to work, how often did you get people that just wanted to talk about the NFL? You know what I mean? Like they were curious about that.
So, well, first off, I had one interview. I was one and done. So,
you had one. You were just done. You were there.
I was one and done. I got hired by first interview because before you get hired, though, I think the thing is you get a lot of rejection letters. So you don't even get to the interview part. You get a lot of no's first. But after my experience, my tenure with the Raiders, I was able to interview right away. I went right back to Robert Half because Robert Half did me right the first time. And they set me up with some companies. And the first interview that I had, I was offered that role. So I was fortunate enough not to have to go through that saga of people just wanting to talk to me about the NFL. I did have a lot of people reaching out to me, like on LinkedIn and on different platforms, who were recruiters, and they wanted to talk to me about my NFL experience. And that is what catapulted them to want to take me to the next level, or like engage with me. And that happened a lot. And that's like, look, it's a gift and a curse. Yeah, right. I was someone who was getting a lot of attention from this team, and that's what was their interest. And it's like, what about me? Like, I'm not just this team. Right. But also, that gave me so many opportunities that I wouldn't have had if I didn't have this team name behind me. So although, you take the good with the bad. Like, was it ideal? No. But would I have found a role so quickly? I don't know.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So let's talk about, I guess employee engagement, right? There's a lot of tech companies that are just getting kicked in the teeth, and they have been for a couple of years now. And now where you're at now is a SaaS company, right? Yeah. And you guys are doing great. The one thing that I wonder about sometimes is, how is it for an HR person when a company goes through layoffs? I'm not saying that you've done that, but we talked about it the other day. What is it like for that person sitting across from an employee that has to deliver the bad news? What does that feel like?
I was start off by saying, unless you're the Grim Reaper, this is not something that's easy. This is not something that's fun. And I think a lot of HR people can put themselves in that person's shoes. Like, you're taking away someone's livelihood, and you're doing it in such a way where they're shocked. They're going through this initial kind of like the stages of emotion. Like, they're in disbelief that this is happening, first off, because they cannot prepare for a layoff. And then when it happens, they're like, why me? There's so many different emotions that are running through their head. And so as an HR professional, you kind of have to gear up for all of the emotions that this person is feeling and be ready to support them. And that is not fun. That is like, you see it in people's face, you hear it in their voice, and that takes a toll on you every time, no matter how many times you have to do it, because it is devastating to the person who's on the receiving end.
And then, yeah, I mean, and delivering that news, it's just, I mean, unless you're George Clooney, you know what I mean? In that one movie, but that was just awful. That was awful. But I think that gets lost though, a lot of times, because everybody's working out their own story.
Yeah, you want to shoot the messenger. That's the first thing you want to do.
Right. Well, so what about an employee that well, maybe it's targeted? What do you say to them? And I guess it's a separate issue than a layoff, but what do you do? I don't know. What should employees look out for with that? And then how should they handle from an HR perspective those conversations?
I'd say first off, a lot of people don't trust their HR teams because they feel that their HR team is there for the organization. And so they might pull the wool over your eyes and try to make it seem like, oh, it's off, great, and I'm going to take care of you, and then go and talk about you to your manager and then get you fired. And I'm going to say right now, there are some HR people that are like that. I've experienced them. And so I'm not going to tell you that every HR person is built equally. I will not do that, or refuse to. But I will say that there is something special in knowing your rights and protecting yourself. And so, one, always be your own advocate, because no one's going to care about you more than you. And no one's going to care about what you have to do in feeding your own children, or feeding yourself, keeping a roof over yourself. You are. So you have to be in charge of that. 2, knowledge is power. So you want to prepare yourself and give yourself the tools, there are so many resources out there. Whether you're going to go watch a YouTube video on how to be a great employee, or how to know if your manager is targeting you, there's Harvard Business Review where you can go and read articles. There's so many resources. So not knowing is not an excuse. You have to be willing to put in the work if you feel like your employer is targeting you, or if you're being treated unfairly, you have to be willing to equip yourself with tools to be able to combat that. And if you don't know where to start, a Google search is the first place.
It's the first place to go.
Yeah, the first place to go, Google search, Google it. And then with employers who maybe, because there are out there, you want to make sure that you're coaching up, you're managing up. And something that people don't realize, as an employee, you have the power to manage up. You have the power to ask your manager how they like things done and kind of meet them in the middle. And you'll find right away what kind of manager you have, because some managers mean well, but don't have the right tools to show you and take you through good processes. And they may be really well-intentioned, but doesn't come across that way.
Is that what you mean by manage up?
Yes. So you want to make sure that you're equipping your manager. For someone who feels like they're being targeted or bullied, you want to manage up. And you want to manage up even if you don't feel that way, but especially for someone who feels like their manager's out to get them, you want to manage up, and you want to make sure that you are equipping yourself to meet your manager where they are, and figuring out how they like things done, figuring out what is your problem, dude? What do you like? What do you need from me? And let me figure out how to give that to you. So you do that first, manage up always, and then you'll figure out whether or not it's true, whether or not you're being one of those soft millennials and you're just, woe it's me, or if your manager truly is targeting you and there's nothing you can do, that would be the first step. Second, if your manager is actually targeting you, managing up is not going to work, and you're going to figure that out right away. And then you want to start setting yourself up for success after work, because you don't know what's going to happen if your manager is just an ass. So you would want to start with, like I said, equipping yourself with just federal knowledge of your employee rights. There are so many sites that you can go on and look at that. And then you want to contact your HR, put everything in writing. And I think it's a great benefit to have somebody look at something that you're going to put in writing, because you don't want to speak with emotion. You want to be very factual. You want to be fact-based, not emotion-driven. And
Sure.
sometimes it's very difficult to do that, but you need to separate facts from emotions, because emotions don't really have legs to stand on in any workplace or law. Emotions.
Right. So essentially, know your rights, document, and be your own advocate. Essentially, yeah. This is great. We're going to take a break real quick, and when we come back, we're going to learn more about Nicole Adams and like what in her future, what she's looking for, and all sorts of things. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
White Husky Films. Dream, create, record. We create ads and promos for your business. We can promote your video on television, Facebook, YouTube, Hulu, and more. We do a full Google SEO analysis for you with any plan. Call us today at 305-744-1444 or visit our website at whitehuskyfilms.com. White Husky Films.
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. Hey, if you like Work Your Career Wednesday and want to be notified every single time we have a new episode, like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell, smash it, get a hammer and get it, and
Yeah, that's fine.
too much?
No, that's fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I love it. People want.
Do you hear Steven in the background? I was just making sure I'm going to be okay. But get that notification going, and hey, we will be letting you know, or I guess YouTube will be letting you know, when the next Work Your Career Wednesday is on. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Man, ding it, ring it, sling it, and bo-bang it. All right? And we will see you soon. Work Your Career Wednesday. Oh, great. I'm glad you stopped by. Be sure to get that subscription bell, and I'll see you there.